Hello, it's DBJ. Let's talk random encounters. Now, unfortunately, over time, the true grognardy random encounter tables have faded into existence, and it's fallen into the creative hands of many people who have created their own random tables, story seed tables, things like that. But let's define random encounters first. Um, the random portion of random encounter means that some kind of randomizing effect, whether it's rolling dice or using cards, generates the encounter itself. So I'm not talking about a so-called planned encounter that you have for your game or for your world or setting. I'm talking about truly random. And an encounter does not necessarily mean combat. An encounter means that a person, place, or thing comes across the path of your players and they encounter that situation. How they handle this situation in the first place doesn't matter. So a random encounter is rolling the dice, checking a table or a book, or drawing a card, and then just playing from there. So why do random encounters even exist? Why even have them? Or why combine the random with the encounter? Well, the first one and most important one is world building. So if you have players going through a desert, you want them to encounter desert-like encounters, whether that's a sandstorm or quicksand or a giant scorpion or traveling nomads, right? Every encounter does not have to be combat. It's an encounter with something in your world that fills your world, that builds your world. So an example would be if you have your players have to travel 3 weeks to some far off destination, you want them to encounter things along the way. And both you as the GM and the players may feel like there's kind of a railroad if you've already picked the specific encounters that are going to happen along that distance. So the primary part of the random encounter is world building. So world building means immersing them into this environment that you want your players to be. The second part of random encounters, if we can go into the weeds a little bit, is resource depletion. Right. If you are trying to establish a world where it's harsh to make a 3-week trek, then their resources should be depleted along that trek. Otherwise, if they get there and they're fully, they've got all their rations and they've never been hurt and they have no struggle, it won't give that impression that this was a very difficult mission or very harsh landscape they had to travel through. If they had to avoid volcanic ash and poisonous gases and hot steam vents and crumbling earth and landslides along the way, and notice I didn't mention any creature or NPC encounters, then those encounters could be randomized. All right, so a third portion of the random encounter is for the GM's purposes only. And a random encounter will challenge a GM to handle improv on the fly. So GM picks up some dice, you roll the dice, you go 3 orc caravans selling trinkets. You describe how they come along to the players. The players, maybe they have a scout or someone sends their familiar and they see these orcs with these trinkets, and how you as a game master are now thrust into a position where you have to make up things on the fly. Random encounters are a way for you to exercise your improv skills without quite destabilizing maybe the true game that you have. So if you have a 3-week journey and you have this great adventure where you know, oh, they're going to go to this mountain and it's like 20 levels deep and blah, 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 blah. Well, this 3-week journey can be used to test your improv skills without it affecting the main plot of the game, right? Another aspect of random encounters is the idea that it creates story seeds. So depending on how your players act and react, not only do you learn their behaviors and how they want to role play their characters, but maybe it creates a story seed. So if they go into this blasted realm of poisonous gases and steam geysers and orcs selling trinkets, and maybe your players latch onto something, now you can start building a world. Maybe one of the orcs has a trinket that comes from one of the players' past, and they say, well, that came from a dwarven hold or something. Maybe they try to kill the orcs. Who knows? Maybe in this blasted realm, one of the players sees something or decides to want to go down deep into this under realm of hot lava and death, and you're like, well, they haven't gotten to my mountain yet, but maybe this is a good divergent. Maybe a demon or a devil lives at the bottom of this volcano and sends out its minions or something like that. Maybe there's a sect of paladins that are trapped down there fighting evil forever and they need the players' help or something. So this is a good way to spark creativity, and once again, random encounters create improv. And I'll say that lastly, you can, as far as world building, a game master can generate their own random encounter table, right? So maybe you pick 10 or even up to 20, or even use a D100 if you want to come up with that many ideas. But I think between 6 to 20 ideas is pretty good. And you just number them and you just come up with things that players would normally encounter along their way through this area of your world. So if it's a desert, you go, okay, sandstorms, number 1, an oasis, number 2, giant scorpions, number 3, nomadic bands, number 4, a hidden temple, number 5 or something, manticores or sphinx, number 6, you know, an old crypt or something, number 7 or whatever, and you just start naming them off. You keep it on the side, maybe you put them on 3x5 cards, put it aside. When there's a downtime, when there's a lull, when the players want to go quote unquote off the beaten path, you roll, you see what happens, you find out how your players act or react, and it's a good way to, strange thing to say, but good way to throw away some of your bad guy ideas. Maybe they're not quite fleshed out. You want maybe you want to allow some of your players to express themselves in non-combat ways. So you have a player that likes to sneak around. Maybe they get to sneak around, you know, a nomadic camp. You have a player who's very intelligent and wants to uncover ancient runes. So now you have the ability to have them go into an ancient temple and translate languages. It's a great way to have your players, all of them, be things that they want to interact with, and according to their character sheets, their specialties. So anyway, random encounters, bring back the magic of those old things, and let's see if we can't spark some new ideas, man. Anyway, DBJ, and I'm out.